Jealousy sharpens its knife in the dark, but every blade it raises against you eventually cuts its own hand. Chosen one, sit with that for a second, because what you're witnessing right now is proof that envy never travels alone. It always carries destruction, and the first person it destroys is the one who holds it. Now imagine this for a moment. Chosen one, a group of people who gathered together, whispering, scheming, plotting your downfall. They thought they had the perfect trap. But here's the truth they couldn't see. The universe has a law more precise than any court of man. What they sent out is returning, multiplied, and it's not landing on you. It's knocking on their door. Science itself shows us how powerful this poison is. Studies prove that envy doesn't just twist the mind, it breaks the body, raising stress hormones, weakening the immune system, shortening lifespans. So when these jealous ones plotted against you, they weren't setting you back, they were accelerating their own collapse. Every hateful word they whispered was like swallowing glass. Every lie they spread was another nail in their own coffin. They thought they were writing your ending, but in reality, they were writing the script of their own downfall. That's the raw truth. And thank you, Chosen One. Before we go deeper, don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing the like and subscribe. It helps spread this truth to more souls, because it's the responsibility of all of us to share the light. Thank you for being a part of this mission. You are part of a force far greater than you realize. Now, back to what matters. The title tells the story. A jealous group plotted against you, and karma is already walking back toward them. Return to sender. No postage needed. It's like they mailed a ticking package, but forgot that your address is guarded. Now that package sits on their porch, louder with every second. They wanted to bury you, but what they buried was their own peace of mind. They wanted to dim your light, but the universe made their shadows stretch longer. They wanted to break your spirit, but now their own spirits are breaking under the weight of their envy. Chosen One, the beauty here is that you didn't have to fight dirty. You didn't have to match their schemes with schemes. You stood still, and the universe kept receipts. Every action, every plot, every fake smile. They thought it was hidden. But nothing in this universe stays hidden forever. The same energy they use to try and destroy you is the very energy fueling their downfall. Like a boomerang, everything they threw is circling back, faster and sharper. Think of history. How many empires fell not from outside enemies, but from jealousy within? How many powerful groups destroyed themselves because envy ate them alive? It's the same pattern repeating. Their alliance was never about strength, it was about weakness, disguised as power, and weakness cannot stand for long. The very net they set for you is the net in which they are tangled now. That's not coincidence, that's justice in its purest form. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. Psychology tells us that people who plot and envy are already living in torment before karma even reaches them. Their minds replay your success like a broken record. Your name burns in their mouths even when they try to silence it. Your presence rattles them because it reflects everything they lack. That's why they tried to unite against you. But Chosen One, the universe never honors alliances built on hate. What's built on lies crumbles in truth, and that crumble has already begun. So, as we move deeper, stay with me, because what's happening now is bigger than gossip or betrayal. It's a cosmic balancing act. The universe isn't just exposing them, it's elevating you. Their envy has become your evidence. Their plots have become your proof, and their downfall, it's the stage where your survival shines brightest. Chosen One, before we step fully into this truth, I want you to pause and anchor yourself in this moment. If you've ever felt the sting of jealousy aimed at you, if you've ever been targeted by whispers, lies, or plots meant to see you fall, then this message was carved out for you. Drop a comment below with the number 777 if you're ready to watch karma unfold in real time, because your energy here fuels more than just you. It strengthens this entire mission. Every like, every subscribe, every gift you send, whether small or great, keeps this light burning brighter and pushes this message to more souls who need it. It's not about the number, it's about the force we create together. And Chosen One, stay with me until the end, because I promise you this: if you've truly walked through the fire of envy, you will feel the power of this truth gripping you with every word. So take a breath, hold steady, and let's move step by step into how the universe is turning every plot against you into their own undoing. Let's begin. Number 1, when it takes a whole army to touch you, you've already won. Only the weak need a crowd to face one strong soul. Chosen One, let that slice through the noise for a second, because what happened to you wasn't just ordinary jealousy, it was a campaign, a collective mission. One person's envy wasn't enough to even make a dent. One person's gossip wasn't enough to bruise you. One person's attack wasn't enough to scratch you. It took a group, a jealous crew huddled together in fear, to try and pull you down. And do you know what that screams? It screams that you were untouchable from the very beginning. Now, picture this clearly. Imagine a lion walking through the savannah, powerful and alone. Do jackals attack it one by one? No, because one-on-one, they know they'll be ripped apart. So they swarm, they circle, they howl together, hoping that numbers can make up for what they lack in strength. That's exactly what your enemies did. They knew, face to face, one-on-one, they didn't stand a chance. So they tried to build a wall of numbers to disguise the weakness in their hearts. But here's the irony: they thought their gathering made them stronger, when in reality their gathering was the loudest announcement that you were far too powerful for a single soul to handle. You might be asking yourself, why me? Why did they need so many just to take down one? The answer is simple. People never plot against the powerless. Nobody wastes breath forming an alliance against what doesn't matter. Nobody builds a strategy around someone they don't fear. Their very plotting was proof of your significance, proof of your impact, proof that your presence shakes them in ways they can't even admit out loud. Think about history. Every great figure, every leader, every person who carried weight in the world, they weren't attacked by one enemy. They were targeted by groups, by councils, by coalitions. Why? Because the power of one rare soul always threatens the comfort of the many. And Chosen One, that's you. You carry something so heavy, so undeniable, that it exposed their insecurity just by existing. You didn't even have to move against them. Your existence was enough to trigger their paranoia. And let's make this brutally honest. The size of the attack always reveals the size of your importance. The bigger the hate, the bigger the proof that you matter. When they couldn't handle you alone, they exposed themselves. They showed their cracks, their desperation, their trembling fear that your light would keep shining no matter what they did. They didn't multiply their strength by joining forces. They multiplied their exposure. Every whisper in the dark became evidence. Every scheme in secret became a spotlight on their cowardice. Chosen One, you were the mirror they couldn't face. Your life reflected back to them everything they weren't, everything they failed to become, and everything they secretly wished they could be. Instead of facing that truth, they tried to shatter the mirror. But here's the catch. They didn't break you. They broke themselves. Their plotting has shattered their credibility. Their gossip has shattered their peace. And soon, their own alliances will eat them alive, because envy doesn't just destroy its target. It turns inward, devouring its host. Let me ask you this. Would they have wasted their energy if you were ordinary? Would they have risked their reputations, their relationships, their sanity, if you weren't already carrying a presence that unsettled them? The answer is no. Their obsession, their schemes, their jealousy, every bit of it is a loudspeaker announcing, "This one is too strong to face alone." You didn't need to prove your worth. Their desperation proved it for you. And that's the piece they will never recover from, because no matter how the story plays out, the record is already written. They needed numbers, you stood alone. They needed plots, you needed only your presence. They needed darkness, but you carried light. And when the universe balances the scales, and it always does, they'll realize that their greatest mistake wasn't plotting against you. It was proving to you, and to everyone watching, that you were never ordinary. You were untouchable from the start. Here's the brutal truth. They tried to make you the victim, but in doing so, they exposed themselves as cowards. They thought they were building a wall to block you, but that wall became their prison. They thought they were crafting your downfall, but they built their own tombstone. Their whispers have turned into echoes that haunt them at night. Their unity, built on envy, is cracking under its own weight. And you? You've become the evidence that envy can never bury true strength. So, chosen one, don't you dare shrink yourself or question your worth. Their plotting wasn't your weakness, it was your coronation. Every move they made against you was a drumbeat announcing your power. Every lie they told was a confession of their fear. And every jealous whisper that floated through the air was another reminder that your presence is so heavy it demands an army just to try and match it. That's the kind of power that can't be faked, can't be copied, and can't be destroyed. They wanted you buried, but all they did was plant you deeper, and what they don't realize is this: seeds grow in darkness. What they thought was your ending was really your beginning. Their plot was not proof of their power, it was proof of yours. Proof that you are untouchable, proof that you are significant, proof that you are the one they could never silence. And that is why they will never recover. Because no matter how much they deny it, no matter how much they pretend otherwise, the truth is carved into the story forever. It took all of them to try and break you. And still, you're here. Unshaken, untouchable, unstoppable. Number 2. Jealousy isn't about your possessions. It's about your presence. People don't envy the gold you wear. They envy the fire in your soul they can't steal. Chosen one, let's be brutally honest. What rattled this jealous group wasn't your car, your clothes, your house, or even your success. If it was just about material things, they could have tried to outbuy you, outshine you, or compete. That would have been easy. But no, this cut deeper. Their plotting wasn't triggered by what you own, it was provoked by who you are. Now imagine this for a moment, chosen one. Imagine walking into a room and without saying a word, every head turns. Not because of wealth, not because of bragging, but because something in you carries weight. That silent gravity you hold unsettles people who live off pretending. They spend hours curating their image, painting masks over insecurity, rehearsing ways to appear important. And yet you, simply existing, undo all of that. You didn't beg for approval. You didn't chase validation, and still, your presence silenced theirs. That's the wound they couldn't bandage, the truth they couldn't bury. Ask yourself this: why would they spend so much energy hating you if all you had was stuff? Stuff can be bought, imitated, or stolen. But essence cannot be faked. And that's what makes you dangerous to them. They weren't watching your bank account. They were watching the way people gravitated to you without effort. They weren't angry at your wins. They were angry that your wins didn't come from cheating, compromising, or crawling the way theirs did. You remind them of something they'll never touch: the freedom of being real. And that's why their jealousy eats them alive, because they see in you a standard they can never reach. They can copy your clothes, but they can't copy your soul. They can mimic your words, but they can't mimic your spirit. They can imitate your moves, but they can't imitate your energy. Every time they try, they fall short. And instead of facing that truth, they decided the only way to level the field was to plot against you. They didn't want competition. They wanted cancellation. But here's where they failed. Essence cannot be erased. You can strip away opportunities, but you can't strip away presence. You can try to poison someone's reputation, but you can't silence the way their aura speaks before they even open their mouth. You can plot against someone's life, but you can't kill the thing that makes them who they are. That's why their attacks boomerang back to them, because they were never fighting what you had. They were fighting what they could never become. Psychology proves this too. Studies show that jealousy often comes from insecurity, not true rivalry. People project their emptiness onto those who expose it. That's exactly what happened here. Their obsession with you was never about envy of your possessions. It was their quiet confession. Every glare, every whisper, every scheme was really them saying, "You have something inside you that I'll never have." They could never admit that out loud, so they covered it with hate. But here's the cruel joke of envy. It exposes itself. Desperation can't stay hidden forever. You'll notice how their stories contradict, how their smiles crack, how their fake strength crumbles under pressure. That's jealousy bleeding through. Their alliance against you wasn't a sign of power, it was a neon sign of weakness. Because what kind of person spends their energy fighting a presence they claim doesn't matter? Only the ones who secretly know it matters more than they can handle. Chosen one, you are not threatening because of what you've done. You are threatening because of who you are, and that is why they will never find peace. They weren't just fighting your achievements. They were fighting the fact that you can't be duplicated. They were fighting the reality that even if they took everything from you, they could never take the one thing that unsettles them most: your essence. And that truth, that will haunt them longer than any victory they could have stolen. Number 3. By making you their enemy, they signed their own death warrant. Some battles are lost the moment you choose the wrong opponent. Chosen one, the second they placed your name in their mouth as an enemy, they weren't declaring war on you, they were declaring war on themselves. That's the ugly truth. People think jealousy and plotting are just little games, harmless whispers in the dark. But the moment they branded you as the one they wanted to see fall, they stepped into a trap of their own design. They tied themselves to your destiny, and that was the rope that would eventually hang them. Think about it. They could have ignored you. They could have kept walking their path, lived their lives in peace, and never entangled themselves in yours. But obsession isn't free. It always costs something. Every second they spent watching you, whispering about you, making you the topic of their midnight conversations, they were chaining themselves closer and closer to you. They thought their focus was weakening you, but in reality, their attention was feeding you power. By naming you their enemy, they surrendered control. They gave you authority over their lives without you lifting a single finger. Now imagine this picture. A snake coils itself, waiting to strike, but in its fury, it forgets the ground it's standing on is quicksand. The more it thrashes, the faster it sinks. That's exactly what happened when they pointed their hatred at you. They thought they were positioning themselves as hunters, but they were really prey caught in their own trap. The energy they spent plotting against you became the very weight dragging them under. And here's the brutal reality. When someone makes you their obsession, they give you power over their story. Your rise becomes the very trigger for their fall. Every step you take forward magnifies their insecurity. Every door that opens for you turns into a wall for them. The moment they declared you their target, their future stopped being their own. Because envy is a contract. It binds the jealous to the very person they're trying to destroy. Let's be real, chosen one. They never had permission to take you down. That's why their plans never landed. That's why their traps collapsed. You weren't just walking unprotected. You carried a weight that they couldn't touch. And when they set themselves against you, they weren't just fighting a person. They were fighting the balance of the universe itself. That's a battle no one has ever won. They signed themselves up for a war they couldn't survive, and they didn't even know it. Ask yourself, if they had left you alone, where would they be now? Maybe still living in their illusions, still playing their little games, still maintaining the mask. But by focusing all that energy on you, they handed their peace, their opportunities, and their own destiny over to forces they couldn't control. Now, every conversation they spoke in malice has become evidence against them. Every alliance they built in secret is collapsing under its own weight. Every move they made trying to tear you down has turned into another brick in the wall, closing in around them. Chosen one, their obsession became their prison. They can't run from it because the tie they created won't break until the universe finishes what they started. Your rise automatically became their exposure. Your growth became their judgment. And it's not because you wished anything on them, it's because the universe doesn't bend its laws for anyone. You can't plot against someone built to rise and expect to win. So here's the irony that burns them the most. Naming you their enemy wasn't an act of strength. It was their surrender. They didn't even realize it. But in trying to control your fate, they handed over control of their own. Their downfall is no accident. It's not random chaos. It's the natural consequence of a choice they should have never made. They wanted to watch you fall, but instead they get front row seats to their own collapse. And every day that you rise higher, their trap tightens around them until there's no escape left. That's why they will never recover, because by trying to destroy you, they destroyed themselves. They thought they declared war on you, but what they really declared was the end of their own peace, their own credibility, and their own power. And that's the kind of karma no one walks away from. Number 4. The universe doesn't do revenge, it does precision justice. Revenge is noisy and sloppy, justice is silent and surgical. Chosen one, let that burn into your mind, because the jealous group that plotted against you thought this was going to play out like a street fight. Blow for blow, insult for insult, pain for pain. But the universe doesn't mirror human pettiness. It doesn't lower itself to childish games of, you hurt me, I'll hurt you back. No, the universe moves with precision. Every strike is deliberate. Every outcome is exact. And the punishment never misses its mark. Now imagine this for a moment. Imagine a surgeon holding a scalpel. A child with scissors might hack away wildly, cutting everything in sight, but a surgeon knows exactly where to cut and when to stop. That's the difference between human revenge and universal justice. Humans slash recklessly, leaving scars and chaos. But the universe, it cuts with accuracy so sharp that the very lie they told becomes the knife that opens their own secrets. That's not coincidence. That's the balance of existence restoring itself. You may ask yourself, why can't I just get even? Why shouldn't I clap back, expose them, fight them on their level? Because, chosen one, your vindication was never meant to come from your hands. If you fought them with the same weapons they used, you'd only dirty yourself with their poison. And worse, you'd step out of alignment with the very forces protecting you. The reason you're still standing tall is because you didn't swing wildly. You let the universe handle what your strength was never meant to waste energy on. Here's a brutal truth they didn't calculate. Obsession isn't free, and neither is betrayal. Every seed has a harvest, and the universe is a perfect farmer. If they sowed lies, then the harvest will be exposure. If they sowed betrayal, then betrayal will come from their own circle. If they sowed traps, then the trap will snap shut with them inside it. What you send out comes back multiplied. That's not a slogan, it's law, and no one, no matter how clever, can rewrite that law. Imagine this, a boomerang thrown into the air. The fool who threw it runs forward laughing, thinking they've struck their target. But the arc is inevitable, and when it circles back, it doesn't strike the one they aimed at. It cracks against the skull of the one who threw it. That's universal justice. They laughed in secret, they gloated in the shadows, but the return is already in the air. And when it lands, they won't even have the chance to claim innocence, because it'll be clear. The pain came from their own hand. Now picture this, a spider spinning an elaborate web to trap its prey. Each strand carefully placed, each knot woven with intention. But in its arrogance, the spider forgets. The web isn't just sticky for the prey, it's sticky for the builder too. One wrong step, one shake of the branch, and the same web meant to hold another becomes the cage that entangles the spider itself. That's exactly what's happening with those who plotted against you. Their lies, their gossip, their schemes, they spun too much. Now they're the ones caught, and nobody's coming to free them. Chosen one, that's why you don't have to play dirty. You don't have to scheme back, gossip back, or lower yourself to their level. The universe doesn't need your help to win. Your only task was to stand tall, keep moving, and let them exhaust themselves in their own poison. And now, their energy is drained, their alliances are cracking, their masks are slipping. The collapse you're watching isn't random. It's the direct invoice for every thought, every word, and every action they sent your way. And here's a question they never asked themselves. What if my hate is tying me to the very person I despise? That's exactly what happened. By plotting against you, they wove a cord between their destiny and yours. Every ounce of energy they invested in your destruction became fuel for their exposure. They thought they were binding you, but they were binding themselves. Now, the higher order is using that cord to drag them straight into the hole they dug for you. Every curse is a confession. That's another truth they didn't see coming. Every rumor they started revealed their own fears. Every lie they told exposed their own character. Every curse they whispered tied them tighter to the collapse of their own image. And now, when people look at them, they don't see you. They see the rot they tried to pin on you. Their attempts at revenge turned into their own self-revelation. Now imagine a courtroom, chosen one. But not the kind with wood benches and judges in robes. This is the court of balance. In this court, the evidence is energy, the testimony is truth, and the verdict is inevitable. When they declared you their target, they stepped into this courtroom unknowingly. Every action since then has been logged. And the ruling: precision justice. Not chaos, not random pain, but exact consequences that fit the crime with surgical accuracy. And let's answer the question burning in your mind: will I ever see them pay? The answer is yes, but not in the way you might think. You won't see them dragged through the mud for your entertainment. You'll see the universe strip them bare in ways they can't hide. The same lips that lied about you will tremble when the truth exposes them. The same hands that set traps will tremble as those traps lock around their wrists. The same feet that marched in pride against you will stumble when the ground beneath them gives way. That's how justice works. It makes the collapse undeniable, so nobody can call it coincidence. And the most powerful part? Your hands stay clean. You didn't waste time wrestling in the mud. You didn't match hate with hate. You stayed still, and in your stillness, the universe fought harder than you ever could. When people witness your vindication, it doesn't look like petty revenge. It looks like truth unveiled. It carries weight because you didn't orchestrate it. The universe did. So understand this: chosen one, their downfall isn't chaos, it's clarity. It's proof that higher law is alive, active, and untouchable. They thought naming you their enemy was their power move, but it was really their surrender. They handed their fate to forces they could never control. And now their suffering isn't your revenge, it's their reflection. Revenge is fueled by ego. Justice is fueled by order. That's the difference. And that's why you will always rise untouched while they crumble under the weight of what they've sown. Their judgment isn't random. Their collapse isn't an accident. It's the natural result of the trap they walked into when they made you their target. And chosen one, nothing is more terrifying to them than realizing the universe doesn't forget, doesn't miss, and doesn't play favorites. It only plays fair. Number 5. Their alliance wasn't a fortress, it was a prison of their own making. Chains feel like strength to those who don't realize they're shackled. Chosen one, the jealous group that came together against you, thought they were being smart. In their minds, unity was the key to victory. They told themselves, if we speak as one voice, move as one body, and plan in secret, we'll overpower them. But here's the brutal truth. Unity in wickedness doesn't create strength, it creates bondage. The moment they locked arms in jealousy and hatred, they weren't building a fortress, they were building a cage. And now, every last one of them is trapped inside it. Now, imagine this for a moment. Picture a group of prisoners linking their chains together, convinced that their bond makes them unstoppable. They stomp around loudly, they shout, they flex their numbers, but what they don't see is this. The more they hold on to each other, the less freedom any of them has. That's exactly what happened to your enemies. They thought unity made them untouchable, but their unity only multiplied their weakness. They didn't forge strength, they forged shared destruction. Ask yourself this: why did they need each other so badly in the first place? Why couldn't one person handle you alone? The answer is simple. They knew deep down they were too fragile to face you one-on-one. They had to gather, to plot, to fuel each other's insecurities, because jealousy always feels safer in numbers. But jealousy in numbers doesn't turn into strength. It turns into poison. And poison in a group spreads faster than anyone can control. The truth is, their so-called safe space became their prison. Their late-night calls, their whispered gossip, their shared lies, All of it seemed powerful when they were plotting in the shadows. But unity built on hate is fragile from the very start. It looks strong on the outside, but inside it rots. And now that rot is eating them alive. Every word they spoke against you carried weight, and because they agreed to it as a group, the judgment is collective. When one falls, all fall, because they bound themselves to the same poisoned agreement. Imagine this, a ship full of thieves, each one believing the others will help them stay afloat. But instead of patching leaks, they spend their time plotting who will take the captain's chair. The ship may look solid from the shore, but inside it's chaos. And when the storm comes, their own mistrust sinks them faster than any outside wave. That's what's happening to the group that came against you. The storm of justice has arrived, and their so-called unity is dragging them under. And here's the law they didn't understand. Unity multiplies whatever energy it carries. If you come together in kindness, blessings multiply. If you come together in truth, strength multiplies. But if you come together in lies, betrayal, and jealousy, destruction multiplies. They activated a spiritual principle without even knowing it, and now none of them can escape because they all signed their names in agreement the moment they joined that plot. You might wonder, can't one of them just walk away? Can't someone just break free? The answer is no, because even if they try to run, their hands are stained by the same poison. The agreement tied them together like ropes, knotted at every corner. Now, when one rope burns, the whole knot goes up in flames. None of them can pull away clean, because the moment they joined, they bound their fates together. And the irony is brutal. The very group they thought would protect them is the same group that will witness their downfall. They can't even comfort each other anymore because distrust has already crept in. Each one is silently wondering, who's going to crack first? Who's going to confess? Who's going to betray the rest to save themselves? The cage is tightening. The very unity they bragged about is now suffocating them. What was supposed to make them strong has become the weight that drags them all down together. An alliance built on hate always collapses under the weight of its own lies. That's the reality they can't escape. Their laughter is gone, their confidence has crumbled, and now all they have is suspicion. The friend they whispered with last week might be the one who exposes them tomorrow. The partner they leaned on might be the first to throw them under the bus. Their unity has become paranoia, and paranoia is the loudest proof that the cage is real. Imagine this, a group of birds caught in the same net. They flap and struggle, each one blaming the other for being stuck, but the more they fight, the tighter the net pulls. That's exactly where your enemies are. They can't fly free anymore because the net they built together was never meant to hold you. It was meant to hold themselves. And now, the harder they fight to escape, the more entangled they become. Chosen one, this is the irony of plotting against someone protected by universal law. You don't just destroy yourself, you drag down everyone reckless enough to join you. That group wasn't power. It wasn't protection. It was a spiritual trap disguised as friendship. And the universe, with surgical precision, has locked the gate behind them. So don't waste your energy worrying about what they're doing now. They aren't strategizing anymore. They're suffocating. They aren't laughing anymore. They're looking over their shoulders. They aren't united anymore. They're fractured, suspicious, and collapsing under the very cage they built with their own hands. And here's the part that seals their fate. They can't undo the choice. They can't rewrite the agreement. They can't erase the words they spoke, the schemes they formed, or the poison they spread. The cage is sealed. The only way out is through collapse. And chosen one, that collapse is already unfolding, one betrayal, one crack, one downfall at a time. In the end, they'll realize the truth too late. Their unity wasn't power, it was punishment. Their alliance wasn't a fortress, it was a prison. And the moment they linked themselves together in hate, they stopped being free. They became captives of their own jealousy, chained to each other's downfall. And there's no escape. Number 6. You were never called to swing back. You were called to stand tall and watch. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. It's the sound of the universe sharpening its sword. Chosen one of the most painful lessons you've had to learn is this: not every battle belongs to your hands. When they came at you with lies, betrayal, and schemes, every part of your human nature screamed to fight back. You wanted to clap back, to expose them, to prove your innocence and drag their names through the same mud they tried to bury you in. That urge was natural, but it wasn't necessary, because this particular battle was never yours to fight. This one was designed so the universe itself could step in and show you what justice looks like when you step aside. Now imagine this for a moment. Picture a lion surrounded by barking dogs. The lion doesn't waste energy chasing after every bark. It knows that its roar, when released at the right time, will silence all of them in an instant. That's you, chosen one. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was restraint. It was strategy. It was proof that you knew the universe would roar on your behalf louder than you ever could. And here's the truth. Your role was not to swing back, but to witness, to watch, to stand still while the storm they conjured swallowed them whole. They thought your silence meant fear. They laughed at your restraint, mistaking it for defeat. They assumed you stayed quiet because you had nothing to say. What they will never understand is that silence is the sharpest answer when backed by universal law. Silence wasn't your retreat, it was your authority. Ask yourself this: how many traps did they lay for you in conversation, hoping you'd slip up? How many stories did they twist, hoping you'd rush to defend yourself and prove their lies true by over-explaining? They wanted you to swing back because if you had, the fight would have stayed on their level, human, messy, chaotic. But you didn't. You refused to dance in the mud. You stood still, and in that stillness, you handed the case to a higher court. And that court does not miss. It does not delay. It does not play favorites. Your silence was your weapon. Their noise was their confession. Let that sink in. Every time they spoke louder, they exposed themselves. Every whisper was another receipt. Every plot was another nail in their own coffin. And because you didn't engage, you made room for the universe to deal with them with surgical precision. If you had fought them directly, maybe you would have won a round or two. But because you didn't, the universe guaranteed the entire war. Imagine this: a chess master sitting across from amateurs. The amateurs shout, slam their pieces, and celebrate every move. But the master sits silent, patient, watching. They think the silence means confusion, hesitation, or fear. But in reality, the master is 10 steps ahead, and when the final piece drops, checkmate comes without warning. That's what your silence did, chosen one. It wasn't hesitation, it was foresight. And let's answer the question they'll never ask out loud. Why didn't our attacks break them? The answer is simple: because chosen ones don't win by out-scheming or out-arguing their enemies. They win by outlasting them. Every lie they told had an expiration date. Every betrayal they committed had a built-in collapse. All you had to do was stand still long enough for the truth to reveal itself. And now, their own words are backfiring. Their unity is crumbling. Their stories are unraveling before the very eyes they hoped to deceive. Here's the deeper truth. Stillness is power. Only someone truly confident in their strength can stand unshaken while being attacked. Your silence was your way of saying, I know who I am, and I know the universe will defend me. It wasn't surrender. It was domination. Because nothing shakes enemies more than realizing their target refuses to flinch. Imagine this. An archer pulling back their bow, aiming straight at you, but you stand motionless, unbothered. They release the arrow, smirking, certain it will pierce you. Yet just before it strikes, the wind shifts, and the arrow whips back into their chest. That's the image of what your silence allowed to happen. You didn't need to block, you didn't need to fight, you just needed to wait. The universe redirected every weapon straight back to the hands that released it. And that's why their collapse isn't random. It's not chaos. It's not coincidence. It's perfectly aligned with the seeds they planted. Lies return as exposure. Betrayal returns as betrayal. Traps return as cages. This is why chosen ones don't have to fight the way the world fights. The universe is fair, precise, and relentless. You didn't win by fighting harder, you won by refusing to fight at all. Sometimes the loudest scream is the silence of the one who refuses to fall. That was you, and it rattled them to their core, because in their world, silence equals weakness. But in your world, silence equals strength. They expected a reaction. What they got was a reflection of their own madness. And nothing terrifies enemies more than realizing they cannot provoke you, cannot move you, cannot control you. So, chosen one, understand this. You were never supposed to fight back. You were supposed to watch, to witness, to stand still as the schemes collapsed under their own weight. And now, as the dust clears, you stand untouched, while their empire of lies lies in ruins. Their downfall was not your revenge. It was the universe proving that justice doesn't need your fists. It only needed your patience. And that patience, that stillness, that refusal to engage, that was the sharpest weapon in the room. Number 7. Their hatred was just admiration they couldn't swallow. Jealousy is just admiration wearing a cheap mask. Chosen one, let's strip this bare. Those who plotted against you weren't fueled by pure hate. Hate alone doesn't sustain itself that long. What they were really choking on was admiration they were too proud to admit. Every insult, every rumor, every shadow plot was just their crooked way of confessing, "You have what I'll never carry." Now imagine this for a moment. A moth circling a flame, drawn to it, mesmerized by it, yet angry at the light it can never possess. That was them with you. They studied your every move, not to learn, but to search for cracks. And every time they looked, they only found resilience that made them feel fragile, authenticity that made them feel fake, and strength that made them feel small. Their envy was a mirror, and every time they looked at you, they saw their own lack staring back. Ask yourself, why were they so obsessed? Why did they spend so much energy plotting against you if you were nothing? The answer is simple, because you were everything they wished they could be. That's the twisted comedy of envy. It's a backhanded compliment that screams, "You're above me and I can't stand it." But instead of turning admiration into inspiration, they let it rot into obsession. They could have respected you. They could have even learned from you. But envy doesn't build up. It only tears down. So they drag themselves lower by trying to drag you down. And in doing so, they expose themselves far more than they ever exposed you. Their every attack was an unintentional confession that you were the standard, the measuring stick, the one they couldn't ignore. And that's why karma weighs heavy on them, because deep down they knew the truth. Your existence is proof of what they'll never become. Number 8. Their secrecy wasn't strategy, it was a countdown to exposure. Darkness doesn't protect secrets, it only delays the explosion. Chosen one, they thought they were masterminds. Whispering in corners, plotting behind closed doors, wearing masks of fake smiles, they convinced themselves they were untouchable. To them, silence was power, shadows were safety, and secrecy was strategy. But here's the truth they never understood. Darkness doesn't shield anyone. It only builds pressure, and when the light comes, that pressure explodes in public. Now imagine this: a thief hides in the dark, clutching stolen goods, proud of their cleverness. For a while they feel safe, until sunrise cracks the horizon, and suddenly every hiding place is gone. That's your enemies. Their invisibility was never victory, it was just a delay. They confused being unseen with being secure. But what's hidden isn't erased. It's recorded, stored, waiting for the right moment to erupt. Ask yourself this: if their schemes were so brilliant, why did they need shadows to cover them? Because they knew, deep down, their moves couldn't survive the light. That's why secrecy became their drug. But every meeting, every whisper, every fake handshake was logged by the universe like evidence in a courtroom. The very details they thought were invisible became receipts for their downfall. And here's the brutal irony: when the light finally hits, exposure doesn't arrive quietly. It comes like thunder. Whispers become echoes, lies become headlines. The same shadows they trusted now cast them in the clearest view. What they thought was strategy was really arrogance dressed up as wisdom. Imagine a ticking time bomb hidden under a rug. For a while, nobody sees it. But the ticking doesn't stop. Eventually it goes off, and when it does, it doesn't just burn the room. It exposes the one who planted it. That's the curse of moving in darkness. Their secret has become their sentence, and now the whole world is watching the explosion. Number 9. Their plot didn't just doom them, it marked their bloodline. Every seed planted in hate grows roots that reach into tomorrow. Chosen one, this is the part they never thought about. They believed their betrayal, their lies, their schemes against you were just moments. Quick moves, clever plots, a little gossip to bruise your name. But actions carry weight, and some weights don't stop at the shoulders of the guilty. They roll downhill into the children and grandchildren that follow them. Now imagine this: a stone tossed into a lake. The first splash is loud, but it's the ripples that travel farthest, touching shores the thrower never intended. That's what their envy did. They didn't just gamble with their present, they gambled with their bloodline. The seeds they planted weren't ordinary, and seeds, whether good or bad, don't die with one harvest. They multiply, and sometimes they grow into forests of misfortune. Ask yourself, why do some families seem cursed with repeated patterns, poverty, betrayal, failure? It often traces back to seeds sown generations before. The same way blessings flow through bloodlines, so does envy, deceit, and destruction. Their choice to rise against you wasn't just reckless, it was generational sabotage. What they meant for you may now echo in their lineage, showing up as brokenness, loss, or downfall until someone has the strength to break it. And here's the brutal irony. While they laughed in the moment, thinking their plot was clever, they didn't see their children's hands already weighed down with the consequences. The universe doesn't play favorites, it plays fair. Balance demands that the ripple continues until someone chooses differently. So, chosen one, understand this. They didn't just touch you, they touched everyone tied to their name. Their scheme wasn't a private wound, it became a generational sentence. And while you rise freer, lighter, vindicated, their descendants may one day wonder why shadows follow their steps. That's not coincidence, it's the echo of arrogance aimed at someone they were never supposed to touch. Number 10. Karma wasn't built to break them, it was built to crown you. Karma doesn't chase your enemies, it clears the path for you. Chosen one, here's the twist most people miss. Karma was never about giving you a front row seat to watch their collapse for entertainment. It was never designed as a cheap thrill of revenge. Karma, in its truest form, is about balance, about restoring what was bent out of shape, and most importantly, about lifting you higher through the very stones they threw. Now imagine this. They dug holes, laughing, convinced they were building your grave, but the universe repurposed every shovel of dirt into a brick for your foundation. What they thought was burial became construction. Every attempt to bury your name became another step in the staircase meant to elevate you. That's not coincidence, that's alignment. Ask yourself this. Why do you keep rising in ways that even surprise you? Why do doors swing open right after they tried to slam them shut? Because their collapse isn't random, it transfers energy. Their exposure becomes your visibility, their downfall becomes your breakthrough, their resistance becomes the very wind pushing you forward. Every weapon they forged became a tool for your building. That's the irony. The shame they tried to smear on you now clings to them, while the honor they tried to hoard is being poured onto you in abundance. What they whispered in shadows is now being shouted as proof of your strength. What they mocked is now being celebrated as your resilience. Chosen one, your vindication isn't passive, it's transformative. You don't just survive, you ascend. You don't just walk away intact, you walk away enthroned. Their plotting became your platform, their betrayal your ladder, their hatred your evidence. That's why your rise stings them more than their fall. It proves the universe never punished them for you. It elevated you because of them. Chosen one, you've seen it clearly. What was designed to bury you has become the very proof of your rise. Their schemes collapsed, their envy exposed, while you stand taller than ever. And this is only the beginning of your elevation. If this message spoke to your spirit, press the like button if you haven't already, and if you're still not part of our family, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Together, we spread this light further, and every time you engage, you help another soul find the strength to rise. Stay strong, chosen one. Your story is victory.